I know you've endured some trials and tribulations over the course of your life, and I just wanted to let you know that I am super proud of everything you've accomplished thus far.
I feel like I'm really getting into a nice regimen every single day, kind of sticking to a routine, and it's been really helpful with everything. Waking up, getting right to cardio, having my meals just about the same time every single day, following those work blocks and training blocks, and just overall, everything throughout the day. It's kind of like piecing together nicely, and it's definitely like making me more locked in on just about everything that I'm doing. So just breaking a bunch of like bad habits and kind of getting rid of that unnecessary shit that I was doing throughout the day, like 15 minutes of doom scrolling. I don't really try to do that anymore. I'm getting off my phone around like 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and just no screen time after that. And I'll throw on a movie or something, but usually just hit the hay pretty early. But falling into that routine, it's been a little bit of a struggle, but finally got there. So I think when I do have like a solid routine throughout the day, that's when everything just starts to click. I don't really think too much about the diet much anymore. It's kind of just like, all right, I gotta eat this now, or I gotta go train, gotta do cardio, and it's making everything a lot easier. So I think having that routine is definitely like helping me out in every aspect of life. I'm doing Chicago Pro in July, and then I have Florida Pro. It's in Sarasota in September. I'm really gonna try to take that, 2.5 months,
Yeah.
and really just stay locked in. So after that second show, I don't get rid of all those good habits that I kind of like push out of my life. Going into this first show, I'm gonna come in as peeled as possible, as full as possible, but there's obviously gonna be a pretty solid lineup there, and I think if anything, I would have a better chance at Florida Pro, since it's like a newer show, and Chicago already has that like notoriety.
Yeah.
So we're gonna really try to push for that, or that's what I've got in my mind. The way that I'm viewing everything now, I'm just super grateful to have the ability to do it. And a lot of people have to work that 9 to 5, or some people are nurses or cops, and they're working these really long hours and also doing prep. I really don't think the diet is a bit of a sacrifice. Like, I'd love to eat food, and having that cardio every single day, it's a little bit of a nuisance, but overall, I don't really see anything as a major sacrifice right now. Getting a little bit deeper into prep, I'm able to like realize what my true limits are. I think a lot of the times, like, it's very easy to get in your head. I'm learning that I can push myself a lot harder than I think that I can. I'm a lot happier with myself, like waking up every single morning. Obviously, like the physique, I'm trying not to like get those two things intermixed or like just interchanged, but seeing myself like at the best physical condition is great. But being able to wake up and sticking to these good habits and routines has definitely helped with like the mental side of things too. And I'm definitely getting a lot of peace from that. I think like overall, my body, my mind, and just like my overall outlook on life, it's definitely progressed in a really good way. And, just starting to get back to that like good spot where I kind of like want to be.
Which part of prep right now feels less like a burden and more like a blessing when at first you viewed it as a burden?
The cardio side of things, I used to like absolutely hate it. I would do anything to not do cardio. I would restrict myself calorically, and to the point where I was just like losing weight that way. But now with that, I'm like, I have 35 minutes in the morning, and I'm just like locked in, focused. And a lot of times I'll just like have my earbuds in and not listen to anything, kind of just like clear my mind. It's like freeing, like mentally, and it's a good way to start the day. I'm sure that's probably going to change when I'm like doing like 65, 70 minutes of cardio in the morning, but right now I'm chilling. Yeah.
I want to talk about what like conversations are looking like with Kyle at this point of prep.
Last conversation we had, it was kind of just like going over how I was feeling, and I was just back in Jersey, so I got to spend a few days with him, trained, kind of just like bullshitted. And, you know, from what he's seeing and just like, you know, obviously like telling me and shit, he thinks I'm in a really good spot. But we don't want to fall behind in any aspect. So we're going to start like pushing really hard on every side of, you know, prep, cardio, diet, supplementation, just about everything. And, you know, I think that'll put me in a good spot. But I had a phone conversation with him not too long ago. I think it was like text, but he was just pretty much telling me to keep doing exactly what I'm doing, not get in my head about anything, and just really just keep pushing on every front, and I should be in a good spot. So first prep went great with him. And then afterwards, I fell into a really bad spot after that first prep, and I don't know why, but instead of blaming myself for that and taking that accountability, I think I was just like immature, and I pushed that onto him, and he didn't deserve that. You know, he's a great coach. He always had my back with everything. And he went above and beyond for me. You know, he went out to my show, he stayed with me, he allowed me to stay with him for like the week leading up to the show. And I was the one who fell off the deep end. You know, he didn't push me, and I grew a lot of resentment just because of like my thought process of like blaming him for things. And that wasn't fair by any means. And for that period of time where I wasn't competing, I kind of, you know, bounced around between a few people, tried to coach myself, you know, independently. And then it was probably a good maybe 6-7 months ago, I reached back out to him and I was like, yo, I'm sorry. You know, I blamed you for a lot of this shit. It wasn't your fault. It was all me. And he was very accepting and receiving of that. And, you know, just knowing that somebody has your back like that, especially like during a time like this where you kind of need a shoulder to cry on if you need it. Yeah. He's always going to be there for me. And he's a fantastic person, has a great heart, always going to steer me in the right direction. And, you know, that's kind of why I went with him, because we had such a good experience in the first go around, and I think I'd be stupid to not continue on with that.
Yeah.
So
7 weeks out of the nerves, are there any nerves present?
There's definitely quite a few. Like, I feel nervous, but that same spot in your brain that creates that nervous reaction is also the same spot that creates excitement. So I feel like a lot of that is getting like mixed up a little bit, and I'm super excited for the show, don't get me wrong, but every time I sing, I'll see competitions of, you know, these Olympians that are competing in these pro shows. I'm like, fuck, like, I'm gonna have some really difficult competition. And like, obviously I'm doing this for myself, and I want to bring that best package that I can possibly bring, but seeing all these people, I'm like, God, this is gonna be fucking tough. And like, I don't want to look like a fool out there too. So I think if anything, it's definitely like pushing me to go a little bit harder with everything. One of the most important things I'm trying to keep and carry on throughout the prep and then after the prep is like a really good mindset and staying positive through, you know, the day-to-day. I'm pushing myself on every aspect of life, you know, business side of things, training, dieting, and I'm using this as that stepping stone to kind of really like dig deep into that, and really try to carry it on throughout prep and then up and onwards after that. So
Okay, bro.
Yeah.
You proud of yourself?
Getting there. I think that's something that takes a bit of time, but, you know, waking up and executing every single day is definitely helping with that. And I'm definitely, like I said, I'm in a spot where I can wake up, look at myself, and, you know, be happier with the person that I am and becoming. So I think I'll be proud eventually. Maybe after that first show, maybe after competition is completely over, but just going through this whole process is definitely allowing me to like dig really deep into myself and pull all of that like negative shit out of my life. So I'll get there.